So we're back with another episode. Again, we haven't named the podcast yet, but I have another guest who is an entrepreneur, owns a couple businesses, has a lot of experience in business. To me, he's given me a lot of insight, especially on how to scale your business. And I thought this was pretty helpful, and I wanted to bring him on. And we just met pretty recently. But yeah, just stay tuned, and we'll probably call this the Chavez Financial Pod or something like that. But I have my guest here. His name is Nino. Let's welcome Nino.
How you guys doing?
Nino, introduce yourself.
Well, Isaac, thanks for having me. And
of course.
CFP, maybe that could be a good name for your
it's CFP,
for your pod,
yeah.
CFP.
We'll see if it's available.
See if it's still available or not. But yeah, like Isaac said, we just met recently. I talked to everybody, and he had a new business that he started in front of the garage, and I walked by and I was talking to his team, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is the new owner." And we started talking and exchanged numbers, and from one entrepreneur to another entrepreneur, we always want to network and talk to people, and that's what life's about, is just getting to know people. So
yeah.
Don't be antisocial. Don't be social on the internet, but antisocial in person. You need to be more social in person than on the internet.
I completely agree for sure. Like I said, Nino has given me a lot of insight on how to scale your business. Take it from 100,000 to 1 million. And he's given me a lot of insight. And like I said, I just wanted to just bring him on here because, like I said, great insight. But before we get started, Nino, tell me about where you're from. Tell the crowd where you're from. Tell the people what you did, what you study. Just a pretty basic background.
Okay. The hardest person to talk about is yourself.
Right.
I was born in Detroit. My parents are both immigrants. My father escaped a then communist country. It's no longer Albania, which is north of Greece. And then my mother, she's from Iraq. She's Chaldean, which are Christian Iraqis. In Detroit, there's a big Albanian and Chaldean community. But at a young age, we moved to Arizona. So I grew up in Chandler. So I always tell people, from the Motown to the Sea-Town. That's my story. And then in Chandler was a blessing because, I didn't really get to grow up with my Albanian culture or my Chaldean culture, which allowed me to integrate with other cultures. So obviously Arizona has a big Hispanic community out over here, and I integrated very well with the Hispanic community. I learned Spanish. I did a lot of business with the Hispanic community. My wife is actually from Mexico. And to me, that's what America represents, is culture integration. So
nice.
that's what thing I loved about not actually being blessed to grow up with my culture, but being able to blessed to integrate with other cultures and learn languages and things like that nature. And I speak Spanish fluently. Okay. Education-wise, I have a master's in finance, bachelor's in small business entrepreneurship. My business history is from B2B, so business to business, B2C, business to consumer. I've owned an insurance company, built that up and sold it. I owned a bunch of cell phone stores, like retail, built that up and sold it. I have a staffing company currently right now, and then I just started a tech company. Actually, we're a year old today, or this month, I should say. Last November, I started a tech company in blockchain and NFT marketplace and in the sports world.
Hold that, because we're going to get to that.
We'll get to that later.
Because I've never had a gut feeling. I get a lot of things come to my table, and working with athletes, and a lot of them always ask me what to invest in, especially in sports. But hold that thought, because I want to talk about that last, because I haven't had a gut feeling about something that will disrupt the industry, a certain industry we'll get into, but haven't had a gut feeling that is going to be the next market. But we'll get into that. But tell me about your journey. Like, how did you start working and becoming an entrepreneur? Like, what motivated you, and at what age did you start doing it?
So everything in life is influence. Growing up, you're raised, if you're raised Christian or Catholic, whatever, your family starts your influence. And as you get older, you get influenced to other things too, positive and negative. But I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My grandfather, on my mother's side, Baba Hanna, which means dad in Arabic, he was an entrepreneur in Iraq and Baghdad. He owned hotels, restaurants. He catered to a lot of royalty. As the leadership changed over there, he migrated his whole family to Detroit. He was an entrepreneur over there. Then he moved to Chandler, Arizona, entrepreneur over there. So my father's been an entrepreneur. All my aunts, uncles, pretty much I come from a family of entrepreneurship. So all my life I knew work hard, invest in yourself, and take risks. And
Perfect.
that's what I tell everybody in life. You just got to work hard, invest in yourself, and take risks. So even at a young age, I was out cutting lawns and doing side hustles. I always had a hustle. I've always had a hustle, and I always had a job too. I mean, I didn't always not work for it myself. You got to start somewhere. I worked at a hotel, which was a great industry, the hospitality industry. I worked there for like 4 years while I was in high school and like first couple years in college. Then I transferred over and helped my family in their business. And then, I had newer generation has a different view than older generation how to run companies. My father was like more old school, like, oh, you work 80 hours, makes you more of a man. Where I focus on working smarter, not harder. Yeah. So I kind of started branching out on my own and doing some of my own size things and things like that. But again, taking your education and applying it. So you need both street smarts and book smarts, awesome. in my opinion.
What was your first business?
My first being cutting grasses.
Cutting grasses
with a old school friend, Cedro Silva. Him and I started cutting grasses together.
At what age?
I say probably like 10, 11.
10, 11 years old?
Yeah, that young.
Oh, wow. So you just started becoming a hustler at that age. Nice. Now, my question is, as you got older, after you got your, what was your first business that really like kind of said, hey, these are paying the big boy bills, these are the big boy job, and, what was your first business?
I had an insurance company that I started. And actually my mother motivated me to. She's like, go do something else, try this, try that. So my mother used to always tell me, do this, do that. So she always made me try a bunch of different things. So I got into insurance. And again, like I run efficient and keep my companies lean with low overhead. And insurance is a good space. It's a very, very good space. I focus on non-standard insurance where I was catering to the Hispanic market for auto insurance.
Auto insurance.
And instead of being like a broker, what I did is, because I'm a very loyal dude, I went and I researched like 4 or 5 companies, and I sat down with one company like, hey, I want to make you exclusive on my agency. What can you do? Can you give me extra this? Negotiated a better deal than just some regular agent. So that's important too. When you ever want to grow a company, you want to be loyal and you want people around you that are loyal too.
Good.
That to me, that's important. So they were loyal to me. They helped, gave me an extra marketing budget and stuff like that. And I just took it and I invested it back into the business, and that built up very quick. Where you also have these residuals. You're 20-some years old. You get $8, $9, $10,000 a month of residuals.
Yeah.
That adds up real quick with low overhead. And then they had like a big recession and the immigration things, and then the book went to, and I just sold whatever I could have left. But that was one of my good businesses. My cell phones did good. But those are retail. Those go through little trends. First quarter, fourth quarter are good, and then you die in the summer. I grew that to about a half a dozen stores, and I did wholesale too, where I was importing from China and selling to other businesses. But globalization, pros and cons behind that. Pros are anybody can do direct to China. Cons are, people like me that were in the wholesale game where before they wouldn't talk to you unless you're spending 40, 50,000.
Yeah.
Now anybody can go, but now for branding my products and stuff like that, I'm going directly to China. So on some of my other businesses, it made sense. On some other businesses, you lose. That's part of life.
Exactly. So tell me about the phone store. Tell me, you said you had how many?
I had about a half a dozen. I was a Boost Mobile franchise.
How'd you get into that?
Through a friend. They put me onto that. Franchises are cool.
Yeah, talk to me about, because a lot of people always, I hear when I work with athletes, certain athletes want to invest in franchises, but give us the pros and the cons of buying a franchise. I know, at least from my personal end, I've seen it. There's only a revenue cap that you can hit. You really can't hit above a franchise, but it is, to me, it seems more secure, but in terms of entrepreneurship, but it just seems to me that it's like your general manager, the highest general manager. Yeah, but talk to me about your experience about the Boost Mobile.
You pretty much hit it on the head, Isaac. So, yeah, there's low risk because you're a household name overnight versus, starting your own cell phone stores and stuff like that. So there is a low risk. There's brand identity. You drive through a neighborhood, you see a Boost, you see a Metro, you see Cricket, they're going to stop in. Now it's pretty much just customer service and sales and things of that nature. You are right again too. At the end of the day, they control your destiny.
Yeah.
Because if they see you making more money, which corporate America does, they either want to cut your commissions and certain things you don't control pricing. You can control your pricing on your accessories and some things like that, but for the most part is you're making X amount per box, you're making X amount for upgrade and things like that. There's pros and cons to it. For me, I not to sound like arrogant or anything like that, but I can create my own business model and run my own team and efficient and everything like that. For people that are just getting into business and they want something low risk, I would definitely suggest, starting with a franchise and starting with something that you're passionate about. I was passionate about cell phones and technology, so for me it was a no-brainer getting into cell phones. If you're passionate about food and restaurant, maybe start, with like a restaurant franchise. Understand that business model, understand that, and then like once you feel confident, like, let me go create my own brand and go create my own restaurant, my own concept.
So for that being said, from when you owned the cell phone stores, are you comfortable sharing what the revenue was?
So it goes up and down. So I'll give you an example. Like, so it was a prepaid industry. So we were making like 15-70% when they came and made their payments. So that was kind of like residual income going back into insurance. That's what caught my attention. Okay, at that time, 90% of the customers were coming in and making the payments in the store. So you had that foot traffic where you can upgrade them, upsell them on this, upsell them on that. But then, again, you see a store doing like 100,000, 200,000 in payments at 15%. That's a big chunk of change just on payments. Carriers see that, they're like, oh, then they go put another store, within a certain distance from you, and then all of a sudden you start losing some clientele. So there's not really too much loyalty with corporate America, to be honest with you, because they want to grow. They want to show their investors like, hey, we have 3,000 doors. By Q4 we want to be at 4,000. Yeah. So they're gonna stack them on top of each other, which brings down our foot traffic and our sales, and now we're competing with our another franchisee or competing with ourselves. And I've done that. I've bought my corners. I've bought my area, so I'm my own competition. Yeah. But it's just double overhead, double this, double that. It's not really a win-win situation.
No. So going into that industry, I know you talked about insurance. It's a low overhead cost, but then you went into an industry where it's high overhead cost because you're talking about employees. You're talking about rent, either if you own it or not. But God knows what the electricity is going to be, I'm sure. But what was the hardest part? We'll just start with those two businesses that you started, the insurance and then the phone business. But what was the hardest part about those businesses that, pretty much is what's the hardest part about launching those businesses? Like, what's the biggest thing you had to deal with?
So in the insurance game, retention is hard because people can drive around without car insurance. Yeah. So that's, you're spending a lot of overhead with that, calling people up, reminding them to come in and pay their bill and trying to get them set up on auto pay and things like that. The cell phone game was hard because, one, you got long hours. So you have 10, 12-hour days, 6-7 days a week. Staffing for that is hard. Then the rents, you got to have not prime real estate, but you need high foot traffic areas with good synergy. And that's also important too. Like when you do go look at it for location. So like if you're gonna go into a cell phone and your customers, if say like you have a T-Mobile cell phone store or Metro, and your customer base is like a Papa John's or a Little Caesars, you want to be in that same plaza as them. Because now you're getting foot traffic off of their customers, and they might get foot traffic off of your customers, but those rents come with higher dollars. Yeah. So retail has a ton of overhead. Some of these landlords end up being your silent partner because the rents are ridiculous, and they're just making way more money than you are. And then sometimes your team is making more money than you too, because you got to pay high salaries, high employees. So sometimes the risk versus reward isn't there.
Okay, so you went from the phone business to owning how many? 9? 5?
About half a dozen.
Half a dozen, so about 6 Boost mobile stores. What's the total amount you made there, if you don't mind sharing?
Man,
how many years did you have
old numbers? So
how many years did you have?
I got into that game in 2011, and I got out in 2020. I got out during COVID. So
between those 9 years,
probably at the peak, I want to say an average store did. I want to say probably like at that time, probably like 40 to 50K a month between sales and payments and all that. So you're looking at probably with like 6 stores about 300,000 a month. So what's that come out to? Probably like 3.6 million.
3.6 million
in sales.
So you would make 3.6 million in sales, and then from there you just said, "Hey, I'm done with this."
Yeah.
What made you stop? Like, I feel like a lot of business owners have to realize, especially me when I'm learning this in the new game, you have to know per se your limit of the business, like when to just be like, "Hey, it's not working anymore." How do you just know, or I'm just tired of it? How do you know, based off your experience from those two businesses, you leaving, that it's just like, hey, I'm done with this?
So for me, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with this, is our attention span. We get bored quick because our brain is always going to 100 miles an hour. So while I was in the cell phone game, I started a staffing company. And I started looking at the risk versus reward on the staffing company. Like, man, like, as long as these people are working, I'm getting paid. My overhead on the staffing company is just my corporate team, my field reps, my HR reps, and my little overhead on my building for hiring and drug testing and stuff like that. So I started that in 2018, and I just started looking like, okay, well, what has more scalability?
Yeah.
And going back to like, okay, what you said, Isaac, as a franchisee, you're limited to how much you can make.
Yeah.
But creating my own staffing company, the whole back end, the whole front end, all that, like, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
If I want to take my business model and copy and paste it and take it from Phoenix to San Diego to LA to this to that, I can do that. So I think when it's time for an exit, I look at a couple things. One, if you have a new project up and running, always don't get out of something. Me, I don't like to get out of something unless I have something up and running first. Because otherwise you're just sitting there with some cash and you're gonna start burning it, and you don't know what you're gonna get. You're gonna start taking more chances on stuff you shouldn't be taking. So create something, create another side hustle, and once that side hustle does good, you're like, okay, then make that transition and shift. Okay, let me get out of this, sell it, or put a manager, or bring a partner in or something. Let them handle it. For me, it's easier just to get out of them and just sell them. And then obviously your passion, like, I love cell phones. I kind of, and then your goal too, like if my goal was X amount and I accomplished it, it's time. If my goal wasn't to own 50 stores and be the exclusive, franchisee of Phoenix and stuff like that, that wasn't my goal. That was never my goal. No. Because I'm just building their brand. I'm not building mine.
Not your own brand. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So to me, it was cool. It was good. You learn. You got to deal with corporate America. You learn, because I never had that's the only thing that I really kind of lack, because I've never worked for corporate America. I never had a corporate American job. I've dealt with them as a partner, as an agent, and things like that, but I've always been independent. So to me, it was time just to transition from the cell game to the staffing game, and then focus on that. And then
so you went from cutting grass to insurance to phones, selling phones for Boost Mobile, and then you went to talk about this new business that you have. Is it still current?
Staffing?
Yeah.
Yep, that's still open.
Okay. Talk to me about it. What do you do?
So exactly? we just provide general labor, skilled general labor to right now we're in the auto industry. We've had some warehouses and some off stuff, but that kind of got that business kind of fell into my lap. My cousin had a good relationship with auctions. He does transportation for them. Yeah. And one of the GMs saw his rates go up. He's like, I see my rates going up for my temp services, but I'm not seeing new quality. Yeah. I would pay more for premium quality. So he told me about it. I put it all together, and we created like a premium staffing company.
Okay.
Where we're paying more than minimum wage, but we're doing a big background check, DMV pulls. We're not paying. It's not daily where you go work a day and come in. We're paying them bi-weekly. So we're eliminating people that are used to going into staffing companies.
Yeah.
And we're bringing new people in. Like, oh wow, you guys are paying more. You're doing this, but this, we have higher requirements.
Yeah.
So that business model worked, and you see the difference in quality. You see the difference in retention. I've had people. I started that company in 2018. I have probably like a dozen people that are still working for me from 2018.
2018?
Yep.
And you started in 2018?
Yep. So 6 years later, I still have like 12 people that started when I started that company. Mm. But again, growing up in small business, I've always ran my companies like a mom and pop, and I'll put people before capital, but I always had that big mentality of corporate America where I want to scale it.
Okay. And So you took it from there. Now, as a temp agency, you're providing services. Like, what's the biggest challenge in that industry? Because I'm sure there's insurance. The biggest challenge that I've talked to to other insurance agencies is finding the people, because it's a lot of networking per se. You have to go out there, put yourself out, sell yourself. Then you went into the retail business of selling phones. That's just, like you said, they already have a brand awareness, so it's not really creating. Now, I think you combined the two things that were negative, not negative per se, but the two hardest things that you had to do in the retail business and the insurance business. And to me, when you combine it into the business you got now, it seems like you're combining those two things, that you're building your own brand awareness, and now what's the struggle with this one?
So this company, from getting people to work was not a struggle, because all those years of experience of hiring people in my cell phone stores and dealing with people in insurance and all that, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
So all that experience I had was, I figured out how to, put ads up for people. Hey, are you passionate? Because in my cell phone game, I had a huge issue where I had high turnover.
Mm-hmm.
And it was expensive issue, because I was just hiring the wrong people. And then I was talking to one of my cousins in Detroit, and he was telling me, like, yeah, he does cell phones over there. He's like, we're doing repairs, and I just hired this new kid. He seems like he's passionate. So when he started saying that, like, man. So I changed my interview status. Like, when I was interviewing people, like, hey, what are you passionate about?
Yeah.
And these young kids will come in, I love clothes, or I love makeup. Like, you know what, you should go work in that industry, because you're gonna be more successful. So I started, pushing ads out, like, hey, do you like the telecom? Do you like cell phones? And when I heard people passionate about that, they stayed around longer. They didn't have bad days or turnover or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I took all that into the staffing game, and I started putting these ads out. We started in the auto industry, like, are you passionate about cars? How about, jump starting your career in the auto industry with us? Putting stuff up like that, that attracted a lot of people. So that was able to scale very quickly, just because of all the issues and stuff that I learned from my past companies.
So I think the biggest thing that America struggles with, and this is why America now has even went out of, a lot of corporations in America have outsourced a lot of things, especially employment. I think we've outsourced employment somewhere else for cheaper labor, because of the fact that I do believe that the younger generation, even me and my generation, I'm Gen Z, 1997. I think I just barely made the cutoff for millennial. But in that generation and below, you hear the most common thing, it's our generations are lazy. And I think as corporate America, when you own a business, it's hard to find good workers. And you're saying that, what's the number one thing that you have to ask when you interview someone to find out, hey, this is the perfect person for this business, perfect person to even run this business? How do you
qualify them?
Yeah, exactly qualify. How do you, because you can get a list of 10 people that look qualified, but how do you really know that they're qualified to run your business?
That's a great question.
Because
and there's no really right or wrong answer, and there's nobody that's going to tell you they're batting 1,000. I'm always hiring the right people, because like you said, people talk good, they look good on paper, they talk good on their interview, and then your first 30 days you're like, dude, like,
because
what?
I can tell you right now, the one thing that I have been blessed with is great workers.
Yeah.
I don't even call them workers, I call them colleagues. Right. I don't have any trouble with them. And to me, I compensate them very well and get them extra things. But going through I've hired people that I've known for a long time that have come to me to ask for employment. But when I think I'm moving in, we've had this conversation about scaling and doing this. I just get a little bit scared, because I'm just like, hey, I don't know if I want to hire outside people that I don't know, especially that don't hold per se the same values as I do. I just get scared, because it's like, I don't, you're an entrepreneur, and the business is your baby. Right. This is your baby. This is what's going to feed your physical babies, your wife, your kids, and future generations to pass. So it's just like, to find someone to actually truly take care of it, like, how do you go through that process? Because I'm still trying to figure it out. I've got blessed, but I know as soon the accounting firm, the CPA firm is getting bigger, that I need to find more workers. But I'll just give you an insight. I had 2 interviews. I interviewed these 2 fresh out of college kids from ASU, and I asked them, because I was going through the interview process that I was going to when I got into the CPA firm, back in like 2021, and they asked me, "Oh, what is your desired compensation?" I shared mine, but then I asked these kids, right, for an entry-level job. They have no experience. They just finished their bachelor's degree in accounting, and I said, "What's your desired pay?" And when they told me, I was like
sticker shock.
I was like, I said, "Yeah, I think I told them, I was like, I'll consider it, but I just threw their files away because I was just like, one asked for 85, the other one asked for 97.
Wow.
Entry-level jobs.
Wow.
As in fresh out of college. And I was just like, coming out of college, I'll just share with you guys how much I got offered. I only got offered $54,000 as an accountant, and that's with experience with the work.
And that was at a big firm, I bet too.
Yeah, it was Ernst & Young.
Yeah, that's a very big firm, benefits and all that stuff.
I was just like, okay, thank you for coming in for the interview. And ever since then, I just kind of just held back about like, I don't want to interview any more people because it's just like. And then when I got into the CPA firm, they outsource a lot of people that I've spoke to. They outsource it, talking to other countries. And I think this is the biggest thing is right now what's wrong with America is people don't want to work. So, like, how do you find people that do want to work and then you compensate? Like, I want to know, as your multiple business, insurance, that's all depends on you. But I think it's the biggest one is when you do sales or any type of retail where you have to pay them hourly. What is the number one quality you look for as a business owner to run your business?
So,
because you can't trust them right away.
No, you can't trust them. So it's kind of, if you can grow with referrals, it's awesome. But still, you got to start. You still have to, maybe you had two people working for you, and then they referred you some people, and then they left, but they stayed. So growing through referrals is good. But interviewing somebody straight off the street, not knowing them, one, you got to go through your gut. I mean, and I'm not going to tell you I got the best way of
judgment,
best judgment, because I give people a lot of the benefit of the doubt. I mean, just because of my faith, and I always give people the benefit of the doubt, and 9 out of 10 times it doesn't go good, but it's always that 1 out of 10 it does go good. But just so when you if you're hiring I used to hire a lot of high school kids for my cell phone stores.
But high school?
Yeah, a lot of high school kids. So if you're
they're limited, aren't they?
So let's look at a couple age groups. So say you got a company, you're looking at high school kids. I'm asking, what's your attendance like in school?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm at like 70%. Well, if they're not going to show up to school, they're not going to show up to work. So you start with process of elimination. Okay. How's your grades? Oh, I get straight A's. Okay, what else you do? Oh, and then how's your attendance? Okay, are you in any sports? Are you in this? Are you active? So stuff like that. So if you're hiring high school kids, look at their school attendance, look at their grades, and look at what they're doing. And if they're bad, don't even waste your time with them, because trust me, if they're not going to show up to school, they're not going to show up to work. And people like, oh, well, no, I'll show up to work because I'm getting paid. No, you won't. Work ethics is work ethics.
Yeah.
That's it. College kids, same thing. Hey, and college kids are good because they might be here because a lot of them have responsibilities. That's another thing.
Yeah.
So when you're hiring people, see what kind of responsibilities they have. Like, hey, do you have your car payments? Do you have stuff like that? People that have financial responsibilities are going to be more aggressive and more hungry and going to stay around and stuff like that. Kids that are spoiled, or their parents are still paying for their car, their insurance, their cell phone, whatever they make is just free money. They don't care.
Yeah.
They're not going to care. So you kind of find people with responsibilities, find people that are going to take accountability for their stuff. I used to love hiring college kids and kids in high school, because especially if they met the qualifications, because they got goals.
Yeah. One word you just said right now, I really like it, is process of elimination.
Yep.
And that's actually really smart, because like you said, if they're not going to show up to school, they ain't going to show up to work.
So when you talk about what criteria do you have to hire somebody, you have to have criteria why you're not going to hire them.
That's good.
So
okay.
when I'm always like, if I'm taking a test or something, I don't look for the answer. I start backwards. I want to do process elimination. If there's 4 questions, okay, I know this answer and this answer is wrong, now I got a 50-50 chance. But if you're just trying to focus on the answer and you got 4 choices, now you only got a 25% choice.
Yeah.
So if you start with process elimination in anything you do in life and set those standards and get rid of it, that's where your efficiency becomes a little bit greater.
Got it.
I'm a numbers guy, so I always look at everything from a percentage. That's how your efficiency gets a little bit greater. And then like, okay, Now I got rid of all this. Okay, now I can focus on that. And just be patient too.
Yeah.
Like trust me, there's times where I'm like, dude, I got a master's in finance and I'm opening and closing a cell phone store. Like, why am I doing this? But you're the business owner.
Yeah.
Or should I just hire anybody off the street? And you're gonna have the turnover. So you might as well be patient, work the shifts, do what you gotta do until you finally get somebody that's in there that's right fit, and then take your foot off and then step out.
Yeah. That's a good process. I think I'm gonna start taking that. I'm like right now I'm putting in notes on my computer, because I swear, I kid you not, I'm looking at Nick now, but when I talk to this dude, he gives me so much insight on business. Like I said, the biggest struggle I struggle with in my business is not scaling. It's freaking hiring people to do the work.
Okay, so here's another trick of the trade. Every company I've ever created, every position I've ever created, I did it myself.
Yeah.
I opened the store, I closed the store, I did sales, I did every position. My staffing company, I was the HR, I was the accountant, I was the field rep. I did everything, because if you do every position for yourself and you understand the weaknesses, the strengths, the issues, and you clear it all up and you make it efficient, you put that train on that track, now you can replace yourself.
Yeah.
And trust me, in my staffing company, I went through,
because I know you have to hire a lot of people, and that's why I asked the hiring captain.
I went through like 3 or 4 field reps.
Yeah.
And because I would train them and I would show them how I want it done, because I know it worked, and then they come in and they try. And I don't have a problem with people bringing something to the table, but the problem is a lot of people want to fix something that's not broke.
Yeah.
I think Einstein said it takes a dumb person to make things worse. Like, it doesn't take a smart person to make things, like, smart people keep things simple.
Yeah.
Because we look at it from a simple standpoint. We want to keep stuff simple. So for you is, you got to understand all your positions, in and out. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's bookkeeping. I don't care if it's tax prep. I don't care what it is. You got to understand every position in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Then you need to mentor somebody and delegate that responsibility and show them how you want it to get done, and then just delegate and take it and check out.
Okay. Have you ever had someone that was really good and they're like, hey, I found a better work opportunity, and you had to and they left, or did you always keep them?
No, so that's happened a couple times, and I'll tell you some other times where I had to challenge my employees too. So I had a couple, actually, when I had stores in Tucson, because they always try to steal people's employees. That's one thing too. Like, one sales rep will tell
taking people's sheep.
Yeah, and all that. I'm like, so one of my she held down most of Tucson, for me, and she's like, hey, I got this great opportunity, and she was telling me how much she's gonna make and this and that. I said, listen, I have no problem with you guys leaving and starting your own company and all that. I don't even have a problem with you leaving and going to another company. But I'm telling you, as a friend, what he's paying you financially doesn't make sense. He does not understand break-even analysis. He doesn't understand nothing. Go take that position. Do not change your personal lifestyle, because that's the problem with people. People go from like, oh, I'm making $20 an hour to $30 an hour. Now I have more purchasing power. Now I'm gonna go get a newer car, new this and new that.
Yeah.
3 months later, that company fails. Now you got all this new debt. I told her, don't change your lifestyle. Take it. I don't think it's gonna last more than 6 months, but I'm not a hater. I'm not trying to hate on the guy or nothing. I'm happy for you. God bless you. Thank you for coming to me. I'm good. It was a pleasure working with you, but do not change your lifestyle. 45 days later, she came back. Because you gotta understand, me as a business owner and me with my background in finance and understand break-even analysis, and a lot of businesses don't understand that cost of doing business, burn rate, startup costs, all that stuff. Like, people don't understand that.
Yeah.
And just because you're successful in one space, I think he owned like a landscaping company or construction. Just because you're successful in one space doesn't mean you can come into another industry and be successful, because each industry has its differences.
Yeah.
And so that was that one time. Another time I had, and she's been with me today, and I always tell this story. She's been with me for this is like the second company she's been with me. So she started with me, and this is another issue. Let me backtrack that. So right now I have my personal office downtown.
Yeah.
So I keep myself separate from my businesses, so my team doesn't become dependent of me.
Good. I like that. Okay.
When I was in the cell phone game, I had my personal office behind one of my stores. And I used to always get pulled into stuff that I shouldn't be getting pulled into. Because as an owner, you're a crutch. You're a crutch to your team. But when you're not there, they have to understand, like, hey, I got to do this on my own. They'll call me when they have certain questions, but 90% of the time, they're doing it on their own. If I'm there with them, it's the opposite. 10% of the time, they're doing it on their own. 90% of the time, they're pulling me into stuff. So I had this one girl, she used to always come into my office and like, hey, I need help with this. I need help with this. And she was there for like, I think 30 days, 45 days. And I was like, listen, I brought her in. And I go, after you close your store down, come here, I want to talk to you. So I brought her in. I said, hey, can I ask you a question? She's like, yeah. I was like, is it fair to say that I've done my job in training you on all the processes, this and that? She's like, yes. Okay, but is it fair to say that you've done your job to learn these processes and apply them? She's like, no. Okay. I'm going to give you 2 weeks. You got 3 choices. You can either quit now and have a bad attitude. You can either continue doing the way you're doing and get fired in 2 weeks and get let go, or you could step it up, and in 2 weeks, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I knew you had it in you. You just didn't have the confidence. So those are your 3 scenarios. So I had that conversation with her. 2 weeks later, I brought her into the office. I was like, see, I knew you had it in you. She stepped up. She said that until this day, she still works with me in one of my other companies.
Okay, nice.
But if she wasn't wanting to be mentored, if she doesn't want to be challenged, and that's the problem with a lot of people today, they're so sensitive, they can't accept constructive feedback or even from like their bosses or owners or people trying to make them better.
Yeah.
They just close up. And I could talk to you about leadership, how to talk to people too, because
Yeah,
I learned that
we'll get into
hard
that
way
right now.
too.
But one thing that I did like what you just said is you become more of a crutch.
Yep.
Elaborate. Like,
so I sit on the board at the Salvation Army, and Captain Dusty, he runs that, and I was talking to him about that. He's like, man, he's like, I get pulled. I like, dude, he was, I get pulled into everything. Yeah, because they know you're the boss. They know you run everything. You just become a crutch, because when people see leadership around them, it's human nature to be dependent of them.
yeah.
So he's like, I'm always getting, like, people are always knocking on it. And you want that open door policy. You don't want to be that leader where, like, no, you can't talk to me, set up an appointment. You don't want that. But they need to understand is like, hey, there's accountability. And you've been trained to do a job. You've been trained to do this. I have confidence in you. Otherwise, I wouldn't waste my time and energy and investment into training you. You need to have confidence on yourself. And that's what it comes down to. We were talking about this earlier before we started about sports.
Yeah.
You need to have that confidence. You've been trained to do a job, you need to have that confidence to go out there and do it.
So sometimes, as a business owner, how do you get rid of that crutch? You just said I like what you said. You have a staffing company in a different location, but your office is downtown.
So each company's kind of different. Like, so
we got the why you're not there is because you become a crutch.
I become a crutch. How do you not become a crutch is what you're asking?
Yeah. Obviously, for you, you got separated.
For me, I got separated. So if you're internally, maybe you're not delegating accordingly.
Okay.
So you need to understand. And I had a big issue with this too. Like you talk about different generations. I'm old school. Like, if somebody tells me to do something, it's done.
Yeah.
And I was telling my team, like, hey, I want you to do this, this, and this. Do you understand? Like, yes. Okay, I leave. I come back. I'm like, it's all wrong. I'm like, I just told you what to do, and you said you understood, and now it's all wrong. That was me. That was my fault. It was poor leadership.
Yeah.
This newer generation, they're visual learners.
Got it.
It took me
So
years
new generation,
and years.
visual learners.
Yeah.
Okay.
New generation are visual learners. They're not oral learners. You can't tell them. You got to show them.
Okay.
So it went from me telling people what to do to like, hey, I'm going to show you what to do. 5 minutes. Now, I showed you to it. You understand it? Yep. Now, show me. Make sure they show you. Like, yep, perfect, good. They're done. That's how you stop becoming a crutch to people, is actually understanding their strengths and weaknesses, delegating accordingly, and training them properly.
Okay. Lastly, on this entrepreneurship question, how do you know when to raise the pay? How do you know when to compensate them properly?
That's a good one, because I kind of struggle for that too. Like, I've had some employees that ask me for raises, like, that's where you get commission, you know that, and I should have bumped them and should have did this.
Like, how do you know when you're just like, okay, there's a cap limit to this, and then how do you know? Obviously, the employee cannot make more than the employer.
Right.
So how do you know that? Oh, but let's take a hypothetical question. You have someone that's in your business that does a phenomenal job, and you don't want them to leave, but they're asking you for higher pay, but you're just like, well, this is what the market is.
That's a great question.
So how as a business owner, how would you go approach that? If I let's say, hey Nino, I make $80,000 with you right now, and I do a phenomenal job and I have a great resume and anywhere will hire me, but I want to be here, but I want to get paid. I want to move from 80 to 120,000. How would you delegate that?
So that's a 50% bump. That's a huge bump.
Yeah.
And again,
well, let's keep in mind inflation,
right, and
all that. So
I'm a numbers guy. One, you look at it, when's the last time they got a bump? So if they've been making 80K for the past 5 years and they haven't got bumped, they're due for a bump.
Okay.
Two, can the company afford to bump them? Even if they're a great employee, revenue is important. Like people always talk about, I got terrible employees. Well, you don't really have terrible employees. You just have a revenue problem.
Yeah.
If you were making more money, you can afford to hire better quality people. So you have to make sure the company's making money, because if the company's not making enough to support any type of raise, you're just going to put yourself out of. Forget about losing your client, your employee, your team member. You're just going to put yourself out of business. Mm-hmm. Have realistic bumps. Everybody likes to get paid more. Maybe instead of bumping them, like, hey, how about this? Like, we'll do rev share. Like, I'm gonna keep you at 80, but at the end of the year, I'm gonna bonus you out.
Yeah.
Because you got to understand something. From me, from a business standpoint, you want your fixed burn rate as low as feasible as possible, because it's less stressful. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you can keep your fixed burn rate as feasible as possible, then you can, stack that revenue and those profits and everything. And at the end of the year, you can issue bonuses. So instead of them seeing it on a monthly basis, they might see it on a yearly basis.
Got it.
But at the end of the day, like, if they're that bad, if they're that good, they're that awesome, but you can't afford to pay them, you got to hey, man, I wish you the best of luck. And God willing, maybe my next company I can afford you or something like that. But you are a rock star. And if you got a better opportunity, man, run with it.
So it's just a cycle, because you got from the good employee, then you got to let them go, hire the whole thing again, redo.
And then sometimes you might not even have to hire them again, because as one thing in business is people gotta understand, you got to be lean. So if you did see a good employee leave, but you see some other people that were making less, try to give them some responsibility. Like, hey, what do you think about taking on more responsibility now that such and such is gone? And give them a 5 or 10% bump.
Okay.
That can open up a door for other people.
Got it. All right.
And where it benefits everybody. It benefits your current staff, and it benefits you as an owner, because now you got rid of some expense, you raised some expense, but you still have a plus on the extra.
Oh, that's okay. That's good insight. Nick, you got any questions you want to ask him as a business owner yourself?
No, I like what you're saying about the employees a lot.
Hiring.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? You have a team, or are you owner operator?
I have a couple people. I have an editor in the
Okay.
Philippines and someone who does like personal assistant.
Okay, so like a VE, like a virtual assistant for you. Okay.
So yeah, that's what I mean by outsourcing. A lot of people are
and
outsourcing now, but I think it depends on the industry, I guess.
It depends on the industry, and I'll be honest with you, and artificial intelligence is gonna replace having to outsource. Like I just shared with you that artificial bot that I just created, and it was free for that new company. That
the chat box,
and that's just gonna save me a ton of time, money, everything.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff you can either outsource or just incorporate technology.
Yeah. So for people that do work right now, I'm gonna put you in somebody else's shoes. For somebody that does work right now and doesn't want to own a business, what do you advise not advise, but what do you think they should be doing? And if they're not gonna
they don't want to own a business, they just want to work for corporate America.
Yeah.
Perfect example. I got an aunt named Stella. Okay. She's been with Dillard's, God knows how long. 30 years. I have no idea how long she's been with Dillard's.
Yeah.
The general manager of her store right now, she trained her.
Okay.
When she first came in, she trained her, showed her the ropes and everything. That lady wanted more responsibility, moved up to supervisor, moved up to manager, moved up to GM. Mm-hmm. My Aunt Stella stayed in the same position.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Okay? Because not everybody needs to be a CEO. Not everybody needs to be a business owner. Not everybody needs to be that. She lived a beautiful lifestyle and everything. She maxed out her 401k. She maxed out her stock options. She maxed out everything. She is set.
Yeah.
And she just knew, like, hey, I want to give this company 40 hours a week. I don't know how much she's making an hour or whatever. I'm going to do that the rest of my life. I have my work and life flexibility. There's nothing wrong with that. She's passionate about perfumes. She's passionate about clothes. She sells handbags. She went from all these different departments. She loved that atmosphere. She loved that environment. She did corporate America right. She maxed out all her benefits. She matched all her whatever she can do. And trust me, she's sitting very well.
Yeah.
More than some business owners and entrepreneurs that try to do this their whole life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with being a lifetime employee or team member, as long as you're comfortable and passionate in that space. I'm gonna tell people right now, life is, God didn't put us in this world to be miserable. Jesus didn't die on the cross for us to be miserable. Okay, I'm gonna tell you that right now. You need to be happy with whatever you do in life. And if you're not happy, you need to make a change. I see people all the time, they're just a dark cloud. They just, you're like, dude, you're not happy. Something's wrong with you in life. Either you're dealing with sins that you need to repent, or you're not happy at the work. And I've known people that make a lot of money and they're just miserable. I go, it's not the money. It's the stress of the job. It's the stress of this. Go take a pay cut and do something that you like. And trust me, you'll have a way better quality of life. That's one thing I learned when I got married. My wife, thank God for her. She was a very, very good blessing. I was an entrepreneur. All I wanted to do was get money, get money, get money, get money. That was my lifestyle, and be single. I won't get into all that, but but I enjoyed a single lifestyle. But it was temporary pleasure. It was nothing real, nothing fulfilling. Like having a work-life balance, and I tell this, and you always hear all women shouldn't work. They should be a stay-at-home mom and take care of their kids. That's a blessing. My wife's a stay-at-home mother, and it takes a huge commitment to do that. But also for men, if you have a choice to get a raise, start more businesses, or spend more time with your family, I did it. I took my foot off the gas, and when I started coaching my kids in sports, I started volunteering, I started going to chaperoning for 5-6 years, I took my foot off the gas. I could have easily scaled my staff and come to other states and this and that, but you know what? It's not was I was settling, I was enjoying God's gifts as well.
Oh, yeah, okay, good. I like that. So you just got to know when to, like, hey, because as an entrepreneur, you're always like, at least for me, you know me, like I have the accounting
always
firm,
hustling.
and then I saw an opportunity to buy a business, and I did. I bought the business, so I don't have kids or anything. I'm not married yet.
When you're young and single, that's when you need to create your foundation.
Okay.
You need to hustle. You need to hit the floor 100 miles an hour. That way, when you do decide to get married and have a family, you share that with them.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Okay.
I was blessed. I stayed focused, and I heard a lot of young people that get married young and have kids young. He rents an office from me because I was like, man, he's like, you did it right. He's 21 years old and he's got a daughter. Like, she's a blessing. Trust me, don't get me wrong. But now he's dealing with the what am I going to do? Focus on my business or focus on my family?
Yeah, I'd be mortified if I had a kid right now.
I'm
in the office from.
Stay focused on your career as a youngster. Men, even women, create your foundation, and then that way you can enjoy your family.
So the way I see it is like entrepreneurship is like a one-way road. You know, if you're dedicated, like not a lot of people can do it. I'll say, not a lot of people can do it. A lot of people are like, I can't do this. It's hard. But most entrepreneurs that can do it, stay on the road the longest. But how do you know when to take your foot off the pedal? Just to be like, okay, I'm content. I have what I have. This will take care and sustain my family for the rest of my life and their lives, hopefully. But how do you know when to take your foot off the pedal? Like, how do you know when just to say, okay, hey, I'm not going to scale it anymore. It's already there. Like, you know what I mean? How do you know when to take your foot off the pedal? And just at the right time, how do you know? Because it's like, to me, it's like investing, right? You invest into a stock. For example, we just had a crypto run.
Yep.
How do you know when to pull out of that run to be like, okay, it ain't going to go any higher than this?
Well, you can't go broke taking profit. Always remember that.
Okay.
So if your portfolio's up and you want to take some cash, you can never go broke taking profit. Obviously, you can look at charts and stuff like that. They cross the 200 moving average. Like, hey, that's a death cross. Start pulling your cash. So I did that in a couple stocks when Square crossed the 200 moving average. I sold everything, and sure enough, it went from like 212 to like 50 or 60. But in business and in life, that's God's plan, and you'll see it because you'll see that. And I'm an entrepreneur, and business is my passion. I love business, and I even tell my wife this all the time. Like, I never want to get married, never have kids, but God gives you what you need, not what you want.
Okay.
And when you have your family, when you have other priorities, that's when you know, like, it's time to take it off take the foot off the gas.
Yeah.
Like when you decide to get married and you start having your kids and you see these opportunities, like, you know what, I'm good. I'm gonna instead of taking that time and money and putting into that, I'm gonna take that time and money and, you know, make memories with my family and, you know, go trips and do stuff like that.
Awesome. So let's talk about, so it seems like you're putting your foot back on the gas from the conversations we've had. So I don't, Nick, how much time do you have?
As they say it in Spanish.
Okay.
As they say it in Spanish, time to mete la chancla.
All right. So you're putting your foot back in the gas, and this is what I've never had a gut feeling. I'm looking at the camera right now. I've never had a gut feeling about a business idea that connects, because the number one thing, I think it's over 50%, between 50 to 70% of people that gamble in America. I think it might be higher.
Right.
That gamble on a yearly basis. And I'll pull up as you talk about it, I'll pull up the numbers. But a lot of people gamble instead of invest.
Yes.
But when he spoke to me about this idea, and we just had recently met, I really never had and like I said, a lot of opportunities come through my table for other people to invest. Because a lot of people ask me, I want to invest. Where do I put my money? I usually, when they come to the table, I think it's just it's like you said, you gave me the whole insight before we had this conversation when we had pizza about how to scale.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it clicked. So now when I look at businesses, I'm like, this does not scale.
You can't scale it.
Like, I'll give you an example. My brother, who owns a detailing company, right? I love when people own those things because they clean cars and they clean things you don't. But as soon as you told me, and I didn't know this at the time, when we got pizza at the Desmond and I told you about it, you said that's not a scalable thing. You said he's going to work and wash cars for the rest of his life because it's going to be, on one car he'll take 4 hours and the max he can do is 2 cars a day. Right?
He can live a good life. Trust me, he can make a couple $100,000 a year detailing cars. There's nothing wrong with that, but if that's your appetite.
Exactly. But I know majority of people that start off businesses, that is not their appetite.
No.
Because I read a book, it's The Point of Making Money. And it's a 600-page book, and I thought it gave me a lot of insight, I'll say that. But at the end of it, the moral of the book, it gave you the point of making money. And it's just to not work.
Right.
I think a lot of us find entrepreneurs, and I can speak for myself, we find ourselves doing a lot of work, right, instead of us giving it to the employees. But going back to my brother, I told my brother, I said, hey, that's not scalable, because he asked me about my opinion on it. I said, I'm glad you did it. When you first asked me, I'm glad you did it. Leave corporate America. You don't want to be stuck to a 9-to-5 and be miserable. If you enjoy washing cars, go ahead, right? And we'll never knock anybody's hustle.
And there's pros to that, because you get to see the finished product, which
exactly.
people in blue collar and all that, like all these buildings are building.
But
they're
exactly,
gonna drive by. I did that. I built that. My father-in-law was a welder. We go to Mexico, and he showed me all the buildings that he did that. That's exactly. You get to see the finished product. Our space, we don't get to see it, unfortunately.
No. And that's what I asked. And so as soon as we had our conversation after the pizza, I asked my brother, I said, hey, what do you plan on doing with this in 5 to 10 years? He's like, I don't know. He's like, make it bigger. I was like, what do you mean by bigger? Just wash more cars. I said, okay, with that being said, how are you going to hire employees? And I told him the massive risk of hiring. If you get a Ferrari and you have somebody else do it and they know you for your work,
yes,
and you get somebody else to do it and they scratch something, I said, that's your ass.
Yep.
I said, that is your reputation, that's your ass, and you'll never touch a Ferrari again.
Yep.
And then you gave me the best idea that I gave him, and he started doing it, and I think he like tripled X his business, and now I think he's on the process of hiring more people. But he went from washing cars to still doing it, but then you gave me the idea for him to wash trash bins. And the number one thing I heard is the non-sexiest jobs pay the most.
Yep.
Right? The non-attractive jobs pay the most. Garbage men, they make $90,000 to $120,000 a year. You name it. And then after our conversation, I was rolling, and there was ads, and there was an ad about this company, another company that goes into backyards and picks up their dog's poop for them.
Oh, wow.
And that dude is doing numbers because I looked at how many likes he got on his thing and how many followers. The dude had over 13,000 followers. Imagine if 10% of those people actually use them.
So that
right?
that's a good business model, but it's targeted to the elderly.
Exactly.
Because
so
people, families with kids, man, you better get your butt out there and go pick that car.
Exactly.
I'm not paying somebody.
And so when my brother got the idea, and I told him like, hey, like we sat down, looked at, and I kind of gave him the blueprint. I said, hey, look at the area code, and we live in Arizona. The most wealthiest area code is the Scottsdale area code. I said, if you even charge $30 a month, and in one area code alone, and there's multiple area codes in Scottsdale, but if you get one area code alone, I looked it up. There's over 50 to 60,000 houses.
Yep.
I said, even if you get 1%, that's what, 5,000. 5,000 at $30 a month, you're making an extra revenue of $15,000 a month, and that's just residual. That's just that's passive. Sorry.
Yep.
That's passive income. You're making an automatic off of a subscription. And we looked it up, and I said, hey, clean the two trash bins, the recycle and the trash bin. The recycle was easy, just spray it down and then steam it. Then he cleaned the trashiest one, the one that smells, and I don't care who you are, how clean you are, trash always smell.
Yep.
Right? He cleaned it. It took him about 15, 25 minutes, right?
So go half an hour for 2 trash cans.
2 trash cans, and that's it.
On
and
the first time. The second time is going to be easier.
And I told him, if you can do this and you could have, this is something you scale, because I noticed, the one thing that I noticed about business is the only way you scale is when you hire employees.
Yes.
That's the only way you're scaling.
No employee can mess that up.
No. And I told him the only way any business that you either buy or sell, or you start, the only way you're going to scale is you have to ask yourself, for me, is this something an employee can take care of? Because the point of a business, like when I read the book, the point of a business is not to work.
Right.
Is this something that I cannot work and somebody else can do? And so as soon as he did it, I think he did really, really well starting that. But I told him, even if you get less than 1% of people on it, just a subscription, hey, I'll come to your house once a week, clean it out, $30 a month.
Yeah.
And if you get at least, let's say, 1% of the 50,000 on the low end, you're talking about an extra $15,000 in cash a month. That's not including the people that will pay a one-time fee for it.
Your one-offs.
So I told them, like, do that, and they started doing it. And I think they're really actually taking it on.
And it's not a non-competitive industry now either. There's nobody in there dropping prices or anything. And one thing about those businesses, those are easier to sell versus a mobile detailing company.
Yeah.
Because a mobile detailing company, again, like you said, is they know the owner's face, because the owner's out there washing those cars. You can't really build that. You could, but you can't really build and sell that company.
Because the one thing the other thing that I'm noticing about business is you can't show your face. You can only use your name, not your face.
Right.
So,
and back to that book, what they're trying to tell you is your goal in life is to have your money work for you, not you work for your money.
Exactly.
But what people fail to realize is you got to work for your money first. That's why this younger generation, like, you're living at home, you're doing this. This is the time for you to create that foundation, stack before you really have real responsibilities. Yeah.
So going back to you, sorry, didn't mean to rant. I just got super excited about it. But again, you have this company that like I said, I've never had a gut feeling for, that I think will actually disrupt the industry of investing and gambling at the same time. Again, like I said, I'll pull up the numbers right now, but explain it.
So basically, my partner and I, we created, in a nutshell, the stock market of sports. We created our own blockchain. We created our own NFT marketplace. It's called Game Changer. The blockchain is called Carolac. The NFT marketplace is called Game Changer Market, and you basically buy pennants of your favorite teams, and they go up and down in value based on their performance. And there's no whale that can come in and shit. This is literally the people's market. There's no insider trading. There's nothing that could make somebody make more than you or lose more than you. It's literally the people's market. It's all based off of volume. The pennant price is fixed. The loss amount is fixed. And then the gain goes up and down depending on how much each team has. So it's the perfect storm. And like Isaac, you're saying, it's in 3 categories. We're in 3 sectors. We're basically in the crypto sector, somewhat of the gambling sector, and the investing sector. And this is for people like in the Muslim world where, you know, it's haram to gamble. This is not haram. This is investing. You're not gambling. If you buy 10 pennants of the Suns tonight and they lose, who they're playing tonight? I think they're playing the Kings. No,
They played the Kings.
they played Utah
Yeah.
last night. I know they're playing back to back.
They're doing the tournament now. NCAA
Right. So
tournament.
whoever the Suns, you bought 10 pennants of the Suns, say for $25 each pennant, $250, and the Suns lost, and those pennants went from $25 to $22.
Yeah.
Yeah, your value went down to $220, but you still owe those 10 pennants.
Yeah.
And then they get on a 3-4 game winning streak, and now those pennants went up to $40 each, and now your 10 pennants are worth $400. Now you can get out of the position. So it's not gambling, it's investing. You can turn $100 into like 1,000 real quick, just day trading, getting in and out of positions.
Yeah. And what is it called? How can people find this?
You can go to
We're gonna do a promotion. Here we
Go
go.
to GameChangerMarket.com, Instagram or Game Changer Market. We have TikTok, Game Changer Market, Twitter, all that stuff. But the easiest way to go to is just go to GameChangerMarket.com.
And it's not an app yet, is it?
It's all web-based right now. We're still in beta. We should be done with beta by the end of this month and starting our ad campaign December 1st. But we have content creation. We have everything. It's been a
Awesome.
long journey. We've accomplished a lot in the year and what we had in the budget and stuff we had to work for. So we're good. I'm very, very, as Isaac knows, I'm very hyped and thrilled, and it's time to put my foot back on the gas in business. And like he said, if you ever had that one business, like this is a multinational company that can be in all 200 countries.
Yeah.
This is my baby.
Because I look, when he told me it's not gambling, I'm like, how is it not gambling? But then again, it's when you buy stocks and shares and all that, right? There's a limit to what you can lose, right? And then when you go into gambling,
It's all or nothing.
it's
position.
all or nothing positions.
You-
It doesn't matter.
You
You don't
put 100 on the Suns and they lose tonight. You just lost $100.
exactly. So that's a difference. Like this is I don't know why, but if you don't mind me sharing, you did get an offer from someone to buy from. You don't have to share
Right.
who, but
We signed an NDA. So like 3 months into development, a casino on the Strip offered us a pretty piece of change to
Yeah.
walk, just to sell them the concept. And we're like, nah, we're good, because we have a B2B model too. But we're like, nah, we're good, but thank you. But it was good. It's good to see that you created something that is not even out yet, and people
want to buy it.
People want to buy
Well,
it.
the
And
a
they see the
competitor.
potential.
Exactly,
And
and that's what I'm saying. I if it's someone on the strip of the casino, I don't know who it is, but if someone in the strip is in Vegas, right? Someone in Vegas is looking at that.
and making us an offer, it's something.
Exactly.
It's something big. And what's good about our marketplace is you can hedge it with sports gambling. So a team on our marketplace could be an underdog, and a team on the book could be a favorite, and you can take the same position on both and hedge it.
Wait,
Yeah.
what is that?
So for example, say like the Suns are favored and they're minus 200 on the book, right? And say the Kings are underdogs and they're plus 150. But on our book, the Suns are the underdogs and you're getting plus, $18 on your pennant. So you buy the Suns on our book for 18, for the $25 to win 18 or whatever, and then you buy the Kings on the book for plus 200, and you're guaranteed an outcome of X amount of percentage.
Wait, so the Game Changer book wouldn't follow the same book?
No,
as,
so that's because it's the people's market. So the way
it's the
Game
hype.
Changer works is it's all volume based. So the more outstanding pennants on each team depends on the game. The loss is fixed and the pennant price is fixed. The only thing that goes up and down is the game.
And so the reason I get this, the reason I backed you on this, especially when you gave me, not the idea, but when you gave me the inside of it, and it hasn't really been out of beta just yet, but when you told me, I was like, I'm huge on investing. You connected crypto, stocks, and gambling.
Not even gambling. Just think of it as your sports fanatics know you know everything about the Bucks.
Yeah,
You know their injury
Bucks
report.
and 6.
You know.
Don't forget it.
You know everything about the Bucks. How much do you know about Apple? Yeah, you know the product.
Yeah, but
you might know their CEO,
Yeah,
but you don't know the whole. You don't know the stats. You don't know nothing. At least at least on Game Changer Market, you're investing on a team that you know everything about.
Well, that's the thing. When you invest in stocks, that's what I liked about it. Because again, the downside of gambling is all or nothing.
Yep.
The downside about stocks, even though I do like it long term, the downside about stocks, if you don't own majority of the shares and you're not on the board, they're not giving you the statistics. They'll just give you the 52-week high and the 52-week low. That's what I don't like about stocks. Same thing with crypto. Crypto, you have to
Well, whales can manipulate the market in crypto.
Exactly, and that's the problem. It's a lot of people manipulate it. I
And
think
same thing
both
with stocks.
markets.
Stocks are manipulated too.
Exactly.
Whether you want to believe it or not, stocks
But
are manipulated as well.
The reason I like this idea that you have is because I just pulled up the number. It says over 102 million adults in Americans, or 41% of the population, visited a casino for gambling or other entertainment purposes in the past 12 months, up from 28% in 2001 and approaching a pre-pandemic level. So this is coming out of the pandemic, but we're talking about over 102 million people, Americans, are going into a casino to gamble. We're talking
for
physical
entertainment.
For entertainment.
And that's what we tell people.
We're not.
We're a new sector. We're a new asset class in sports entertainment. That's our pitch. We're a new sector. We're a new asset class in sports entertainment. If you're always looking for new sectors and new asset classes, we're your shop.
And that's only people physically going in. That's not accounting for people that are online.
Doing online, yeah.
And I know a lot of people in college. People did Bovada, people did FanDuel, DraftKings, all that. And I think our generation, my generation, when I speak Gen Z and below, and a couple millennials are the highest gamblers out of any other generation. When I was reading it, we're the highest gamblers. And I tell majority of Americans do not have stocks. They don't own stocks on their own. They get it through an employer, but once you leave your employer, they don't have it.
Right. They just maxing out their 401k or their IRA or whatever. That's actually probably a true fact.
And this is a recent study in 2024 that just came out in September. It says gamblers are dumping stocks to bet on sports.
I saw that article. which is not smart financial advice.
It's not smart at all, but it says
smart financial advice.
A new study by the Social Science Research Network found that for every dollar spent on the recreational activity, net investments in stocks dropped $2, and bettors were investing 14% less in stocks after these apps became legal.
You know why?
Why?
It's the high of winning. In stocks, you don't get that high of winning because it's such a slow place.
Well, as of recently, I got a high off winning. That's my stocks boom.
Right, but if you think about it, you might have bought those positions a year ago.
Oh, a year and a half, 2 years ago.
You've been sitting on that position. You've been babysitting that position to hit over 2 years ago. So our market gives you that same high, like, oh yeah, my team hit it, and I'm up 30%, 20%. But you don't get that same agony of defeat when your team lost because you only went down 5-10%.
Yeah.
Versus I put $100 on the Suns and they lost. I just lost $100. I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I'm very pissed. Where on my market, I don't get pissed when the team is like, oh well, I'll just either cost average them or wait till they get on a win streak, get my money out, and then I'm good.
Because I connected to day trading with sports.
That's pretty much it. Get in and out of positions.
And the concept is amazing. And the fact that somebody, that's why I really wanted to bring you on the pod. I was like, this is because obviously you have great insight in business, but I just want to know what made you start this idea.
So half of the idea was me. The other half was my partner, Billy. Billy had this idea about 5 years ago. He was telling all kinds of people about it. Like, yeah, it sounds cool. So I know him through a mutual friend. We have a mutual friend. He called me about something else for business. I'm like, what else you working on? He's like, hey, I got this idea. I've been, trying to work on it for 5 years, but I don't know. I was like, all right, bring your NDAs, whatever you want, come see me. He didn't come see me for a week. And one of my buddies like, hey, did you come? Like, no, he didn't come. He's like, I'm not going to call him. If the dude's going to show up, he's going to show up. So a week later, he comes by. He comes to my office downtown, and he's sitting down like, all right, what you got? So he starts talking. Within 5 minutes, I know what he has, and I know what he's missing. So I brought the blockchain and the NFT. I brought the crypto aspect to the equation, which makes it scalable, which makes us decentralized, non-regulated, everything. And also it makes it like a B2B model where, say if, FanDuel wanted this, we can create, they can create a franchise fee for them because we're like the central bank.
Yeah.
So, but there's a B2B model, there's a B2C model. Right now, we're just focused on the B2C model, gamechangermarket.com. But when I heard it, I was like, yeah, I had thought about, tokenizing athletes. He's like, yeah, I think that's out there right now. Like, but this is a lot better.
Because the way I see it too, it's connected to like almost buying. When you said pennants, it's almost like I just went to a card show last week. It was like hosted by Arizona State Card Show. But I went to it last week, and I think of it this way: it's a digital card, like NFT.
NFT, because it's
right?
an NFT marketplace.
But
so we found our digital art. It's a digital asset,
and it's just like buying a card. Like, let's say you get a rookie Kaboom. If you know the card industry, a Kaboom is a crazy amount. There's only like one of ones or one of fives,
limited,
very limited. If you get a Kaboom card of, let's say, the number one card that I've been seeing everybody go crazy for is either C.J. Stroud for the QB for the Houston Texans. That card's worth over $5,000, and it's just going to continue to go up because of the hype.
Class, yep.
And it's a whole new asset class. So the way I like to think of it is like, hey, people love sports. I'm a diehard for sports, basketball, football, not really soccer, but only World Cup time. But if you can connect someone buying their favorite team, obviously there's got to be a limit. They'd be like, hey, my team sucks this year. I can't.
Well, you can get out of positions. But if you're one of those guys like, hey, we are in rebuilding years, I'm going to hold it till it gets to X amount, you can do that.
Yeah.
But the true model of the business is day trading.
Yeah.
If you start with $100 and you buy 5 or 6 pennants of 5 or 6 different teams, or 2 of each team, 3 teams, 3 games, 3 matchups, 2 out of the 3 hit, cash those 2 out. The one loses, okay, leave it on the side. Take the profits. Go to the next matchups and see what's going on. Keep turning the money over. I'm telling you, I was testing it, and with $100 within 2 weeks, just getting in and out of positions. My losings wait until they broke even or made a profit, and then liquidating them. I took $100 to 2 G's in less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And the market doesn't even have that much liquidity on it yet. Imagine when the market has 10,000 users, and we have a 200,000, 300,000 market cap, how big those swings are going to be.
Yeah, those swings would be huge.
They're going to be huge swings.
Yeah.
Huge, and with low risk.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking about one pennant's $1 and there's over 10,000, like if it goes up 100%, you're talking about $100.
And the way the pennant works, it gets minted in real time when they purchase it, and then when they sell it back to the marketplace, it gets burnt in real time. Yeah. So it always comes out of circulation.
And what I love about it is crypto.
Yep. Blockchain. I'm telling you right now, blockchain's the future. I don't care what people say. If you want, I could create a nonprofit and create our whole voting system on the blockchain, and it'll be the best transparent voting system in real time, KYC, vote results in real time. You can see who you voted for in real time and see where it's at.
Yeah.
And I'd give that technology to any country, any city, anybody that wants to use it for purposes.
Yeah. So
blockchain's the future.
So Game Changer.
GameChangerMarket.com.
Visit it.
Check it out. Follow us. Like us.
Yeah. And so
test it out. Give us feedback.
So going back to the entrepreneur side, because I love talking about Game Changer, but going back to the entrepreneur side, what really motivated you to do this? Like, what was? I mean, sorry, you shared that. My next question is, how do you scale this?
Oh, this is one. So, again, we talked about when I look at it, like, you always get opportunities, and people's always looking at me like, hey, let's start this, or let's invest in this. Like, I look at scalable. So to me, this is like, one, it's all my passions: finance, business, investing, sports, crypto, everything in one. 2, the whole world is my client. It's one of those, like, my B2B businesses are harder to scale because it's more relationship based and getting in front of people and stuff like that. But B2C is a lot easier to scale than B2B. So this is the sky's the limit on this one. There's no like, most times I look at a business like, okay, I can see my exit strategy in 5 years and 3 years. Billy and I have discussed this a lot of time. This is one of those businesses that you might just keep forever, and
never sell,
and just because it's all of our passions. Like, I cannot see myself not log on to Game Changer every day and purchase a pennant and see the outcome and then sell it. Does that make sense? I'm doing it every day anyways. I'm looking at stocks every day. I'm looking at the FanDuel and the BetMGMs.
Well, the other thing too that really caught my eye was how you market it. Obviously, it's all organic right now.
Right.
But one thing that caught my attention was the UFC.
Yep.
Talk about it.
So we got blessed. We got a great sponsorship with UFC's. I guess you would call it like G League or
yeah.
minor league. For if you look
People
at
that
the
are coming up, yeah.
baseball scenario, there's it's called LFA, Legacy Fighting Academy. They were just here in Phoenix. We went to it. Beautiful time. Great guys over there. They did a sponsorship with us, and they put us on their octagon and all that stuff. So they've been promoting us for about 3 or 4 months now. So very blessed for that.
Okay, on a business standpoint, why go on the octagon? On a smaller scale, on the G League, because you were talking about, let's compare it to NBA. You have the G League, not that there's no viewers there. So why in the lower viewership?
So you got to understand something. There's marketing has a bunch of different wheels.
Yes.
You have direct marketing where you're spending your ads and you're going on Facebook and Instagram and getting in front of people. Then you have your branding where your brand is just popping up over and over. People might see it once, twice, after like the 7th or 9th time, like, hey, what is this game changer market?
Yeah.
Now it creates them to go look and investigate it, all that. So you have to have all those different wheels of marketing.
Yeah, because when I did research on the UFC, because from Milwaukee, right? Anthony Pettis is from Milwaukee, and he has one called the Pettis Fight Night, I think, PFC.
Okay.
Pettis something, PFC, I think it's called. I looked into getting on the mat, but it's expensive, right? But
Yeah.
and it's a lower. I don't want to, downplay it, but it's a lower level opposed to getting on the main mat, right? But when people see it, do you really believe, as a business owner, do you really think people are like, oh, what's that? I'm gonna look it up. Do you see your SEO engine skyrocket every time it appears?
No. So
No.
so again, that's not direct marketing. That's more. This is branding.
Okay,
This
branding,
is
brand
just
awareness.
Brand awareness, creating that. Like, man, I've seen that. Like, where have I seen that at? Oh, I've seen it. Or they see it in the streets. Now it creates credibility as well.
Okay.
So it's not for to get users. It's not for direct, like where you're gonna start spending all this money on ad spend and all that, where you're trying to track that and all that. This is just more brand awareness and getting our brand out there.
Awesome. So let me ask you this: in 10 years, where do you see it?
God's plan, brother. I'll tell you.
You don't plan for the future, or
That's God's plan. I mean, we all want to be in multiple countries and in the Middle East and stuff like that. I just will say this: thank God that Trump did win, because he's going to make America crypto capital of the world.
I agree.
So we will obviously keep it here in America. It'll be our primary headquarters, but I do want us to be in the Middle East, like in Abu Dhabi. That would be our second international headquarters.
Yeah.
And then just once it gets lays and let it run, and just let it run by itself.
Yeah, like I said, when you told me that it's not gambling, it's investing, and I got the idea of, or you even said it too, it clicked in my head. I'm like, maybe you could take this overseas, but then you said it right away. You're like, I plan on taking this to Dubai or Saudi Arabia, where they're paying
Yep, they want entrepreneurship.
billions of dollars for freaking players.
They're welcoming free enterprise, but America was going down a road where it wasn't welcoming free enterprise and entrepreneurship, but now it's going right back on the track where we're going back to free enterprise and entrepreneurship. So America's going to be our home, but our international home is going to be in the Middle East. That's the goal.
And you do believe crypto, after we had a great bullish run right now, crypto investors, right? But you do believe crypto is going to...
Crypto ain't going nowhere. Yeah, crypto's
You don't
the
think
future.
so?
It's gonna have its ups and downs. It's gonna have its dips, but crypto's the future.
You think?
Yeah, I love crypto.
I love crypto. I've been an investor since 2016. I bought Bitcoin back in that time, but now I'm just sitting on it now. But I think, like I said, I think crypto is just amazing.
It is.
I'm an advocate for crypto. Most investors, especially old school investors, will be like, no, it's trash, it's this, but they never have a reason for it.
They don't understand it. Plus, you gotta remember, there's a lot of propaganda in the media.
Too much.
They when you hear the media always downplaying somebody or talking bad about a certain industry, read between the lines.
Yeah.
Read between the lines. That's all I gotta say.
I just think it's a disruptor. I think the people, they talk about it because they know they're going to disrupt their market. which I like. I don't mind. But Nino, I appreciate you coming on here.
Thank you for having me.
I know
appreciate
you got a
it being
family.
on.
I know you had some things, but I'm gonna bring you on again.
Yeah, bring me on.
But keep in mind, remember us when Game Changer takes.
One thing about me, I'm one of the humblest, simplest dudes.
No, I got that right away.
Ever meet in life. I'm
honestly, like, and if I'm being real, like, I do see, like, when I ask you questions, I do see it as a mentorship a little bit, and I appreciate all your insight. Honestly, like, you've helped me take my business to, from the little time, I think we've only known each other, what, 2-3 months max, and you've helped me put some great insight that I'm putting together that I think it's like now when I, as an accountant, I'm reading at the numbers, I'm like, damn, I'm seeing a little bit more money in my pocket because I implemented it this way, or damn, my business just reached this market because I'm getting ready to expand, right, to Miami, Florida next year. And my biggest thing is I don't know anybody, and that's what I took the risk of coming to Arizona. I didn't know anybody, but boom, right off the bat, I started taking care of over 381 individuals right here, and then it blew up to taking care of baseball players, and all that. So, yeah, I appreciate your time, man.
Anytime, I appreciate you. I could talk business all day.
Right. So my last guy. So I'm gonna do something here. My last guy who was on the podcast is Nick. Nick, as an entrepreneur, what is something that you're gonna leave? You're gonna leave him a question, and then I want you to leave a question for someone that's gonna be on the next pod.
Okay.
That you got to answer. We're gonna do something different here.
What would be your advice to your younger self? You could go back to when maybe fresh out of high school. What's one piece of advice that you would give to yourself?
When I was younger, I was very hard-headed.
Okay.
Take advice from right people, because a lot of people give advice, and not all advice is good advice. But be coachable, be mentorable. I was in a sense, but I wish I was a little bit more coachable, more mentorable. Be patient, and then surround. I always use this analogy. Everybody's made popcorn, right? Some kernels pop fast. Some kernels pop on normal time. Some kernels pop late. Some kernels never pop. Make sure you're around kernels that are going to be popping. Because those kernels that are never going to pop, they're going to get you into the wrong directions and stuff like that. But just be coachable, be mentorable, be patient, and be around people that have the same common goals as you. You always hear, you're around people that smoke, you're going to start smoking. You're around people that drink, you're going to start drinking. You're around people making money, you're going to start making money.
Oh, good. I like that. That's a good one. Now,
I got to give somebody a question.
Now you got to give somebody a question for the next guy that I'm going to have on this pod. And the next guy I'm going to have on a pod is a lawyer.
Okay.
Does really well. Great friend of mine too. He's actually older than me, but he told me, he's like, I don't know why I'm older than you, but I look up to you. He's like, I motivated him I was a good compliment. I was very humble, but he was like, I want to start my business and other adventures. But let's act like you don't know who it is. But what's a question that you want to ask a random person? Ask anything. It could be entrepreneurship, relationship, marriage, religion. It could be anything. What's a question that the great Nino has never got an answer to that someone might?
Good question. That's a tough question. I'm trying to think, because now you said all these marriage, life, personal, this and that. What was your biggest adversity that you had to overcome, and how did you do it?
What's your biggest adversity that you had to overcome, and how did you do it? Perfect. Well, we're going to save that. And so, again, I appreciate your time, man. I know you're a busy guy. I appreciate it and giving all the insight. And
anytime. I appreciate you, Isaac,
Yes.
and Nick as well. I appreciate you guys.
But
Till
make sure
next
you guys
time.
are, liking, subscribing, following.
Check out GameChangerMarket.com.
That too.
Even follow me, Nino Mihilli.
Yes.
Connect with me on LinkedIn.
Yes.
I love meeting people and learning from other people as well.
Yes. So make sure you guys are liking, following. Make sure you check out GameChangerMarketplace.com. Place your investments.
Buy your pennants.
Buy your pennants. Place your investments. Especially if you know sports. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I know sports like the back of my hand. This
Check
time
us
the
out.
casino don't own it, but but make sure to check it out. and always stay blessed and stay humble and continue to be entrepreneurs. So yeah,
That's right.
thank you, Nino.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Take care.